All right, so this is why P. Diddy got off. This is my opinion, educated opinion. So, P. Diddy was charged with many things, and one of them is human trafficking, trafficking children. And there's no real degree on when you're trafficking when you're trafficking children, whether it be for the purposes of sex or other purposes for the purposes of profiting off of the exploitation of minors. It really doesn't matter which side of the fence or tracks that you're on. If you're trafficking minors for profit, you're trafficking them for profit. So P. Diddy was, in my opinion, involved in a crime that took place in Los Angeles, the murder of Richard Hong, who lived at George Stroumboulopoulos' house. The intended target was one of my good friends, Claude Duhamel. My opinion is P. Diddy was hired by certain organizations that are involved in sports as well as the federal government. So the FBI, in other words. They had P. Diddy contract out work to a guy who loitered around George Stroumboulopoulos' home in Los Angeles several days before he ended up going into the house where Richard Hong was asleep in bed. He came downstairs, he heard somebody coming in. He came downstairs, he got a baseball bat, and the intruder, a much larger man, grabbed the bat, manhandled Richard Hong, who's just a small little Asian guy, and the intruder took the bat and smashed him, killed him. Then took a blue tarp, I think it was blue, maybe another tarp color, and covered up the body. But then he sat in the living room and he started playing video games, waiting. So he's waiting. He wasn't playing video games because he has a mental health issue. Anybody that takes a life, it's already goes without saying that they have mental health issues. So the ones that are contracting out the work, they have mental health issues. The FBI that contracts out the work to P. Diddy, who contracts out the work to the other guy. So that's why he got off on the trafficking, because the hockey cartel, they're involved in human trafficking and trafficking minors, and they got caught. And I've been a whistleblower on it for the past 15 years. You can Google it. I submitted complaints into Washington State back in 2013 regarding the Western Hockey League and partners of the National Hockey League and partners of Hockey Canada and USA Hockey. And this goes on not just in hockey, right? This is a whole sports thing, but the loophole that really took the noose around their neck was the Washington State investigation in Portland, Oregon. So Washington State, they began investigating and they found every sign of child exploitation, child abuse, human trafficking, sex crimes, you name it. It went on and on and on. But it's the government doing it. So the government is bringing in players from Russia and Sweden and other countries in the U.S. and in Europe, bringing them into the U.S., and players from Canada bringing them into the U.S., and they're bringing them in on visas, but they're falsifying the visa applications. They're claiming that the players are student athletes, but they're filing for work visas. And at the same time, that they're trying to say that the players on their teams, and they're for-profit businesses, so for-profit businesses have to pay their employees at least minimum wage. So what the teams did is they took the argument, no, we're not we're a school now. Now we're in education, and these are student athletes. They're playing hockey. They're they're entertainers. That's what they are. They're entertainers. So they were getting away with this child exploitation, and a lot of crimes around it, like real serious crimes. So other companies are taking a look at that. Companies in Washington State are like, well, wait a minute. How come these guys are able, the owners of these businesses are able to make billions of dollars and violate dozens of laws, never mind the child exploitation, dozens of laws, including falsifying visa applications. So they took a look at all this and they're saying, oh, fuck, how come we can't get? And then not only that, then you organize crime syndicates, Italian mafias and Irish mobs and Jewish mafia and Middle Eastern mafias, you name it, Chinese mafia. They're all looking at this and saying, well, why the fuck are we going to jail for stealing a steak or selling a fucking gram of marijuana? Why are we going to jail? But these billionaire hockey team owners are able to exploit minors for profit, provide bare knuckle fist fighting between teenagers, kids, and adult men in their full grown adult men in their 20s as a form of entertainment to paying customers. And at the same time, they don't have to pay their employees. And they can sell out stadiums, arenas, night after night after night, and they can get revenue from merchandise that they actually fucking falsify their merchandise. They just fraudulently sell fake merchandise and they put the real shit in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Already proven. Already fucking proven. But nothing happens to these fucking retards. They're allowed to go on and on and on, and nobody fucking presses charges against them. The law enforcement agencies just let them go. They watch the games. They watch everything go on. They know what's going on. They let them do it. Billions and billions of dollars. You fucking kidding me? And then you got actual crime syndicates as well, because these guys are criminals, right? Like if you're breaking every law in the book to run your business, then you're a fucking criminal. You can paint it as hockey, paint it as whatever you want, but it's not them. It's the hierarchy. It's the federal governments telling them that they can't run it as a way of a fucking legitimate business and then pay their employees, because if a player gets injured, and then the government's on the hook, and they don't want to be on the hook. So what they would rather do is have this fucking war going on and pretending nothing's going on, nothing's happening. Meanwhile, you got Diogo Jota, who's now, and his brother, killed, murdered. That's payback from Matthew Goudreau and his brother, Johnny Goudreau, murdered. I can go on and on. Humboldt bus, Black Hawk helicopter taking out the national figure skating team into a jet plane in Washington a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. These are all tit for tat. Tit for tat. But what you don't understand is every time you guys are killing athletes to try to fucking keep covering up your crimes and intimidating people, then God comes into play. You know what God does? He sends a flood down, and now there's what? A couple of dozen missing children at a campsite in Texas. And that's how God operates. He sees you retards doing all kinds of fucking shit to try to get away with your crimes. And he's like, nope. Nope. Now, unfortunately, 20 families have to suffer horrible the loss of their daughters. All little girls dead at a campsite, washed away from a flood. That's how God works when he sees you fucking retards doing what you're doing. You know, don't take it from me, just look at the evidence. So, Diogo Jota, rest in peace. The owner of Liverpool is John Henry. What else does John Henry own? Pittsburgh Penguins, NHL. Boston Red Sox. Boston Globe. Stats News. And who knows what other shell companies he's got running. So that's it. We're almost at the 10-minute mark. I don't even know if I can upload this, but we'll see. So that's why P. Diddy got off. P. Diddy got off because he has the dirt on the FBI. They hired him to kill Richard Hong and human trafficking is what he's involved in, and that's what the fucking government is involved in, and they're trying to cover it up. That's it. That's why he got off. See ya.